David,
Yeah.
it's that time of the week again.
Did you go live?
We are live.
Okay.
Wow. By live, I mean recording.
Alrighty.
Recording episode 10 of Intimate ZvX with Stoic. I'm Stoic Nouveau.
I'm Stoic Regret. Wow, we've done 10. Jeez.
This is 10. Yeah, this is episode 10. As
40
always,
replays. Holy smokes.
post your comments on the Team Liquid thread if you like our VODs, because every comment makes ZvX with Stoic just a little bit more intimate. Okay.
For
So,
those of you who don't know, he came out with that like 10 minutes ago and
and thought it was awesome and realized that it was, so said it in the VOD.
Okay, 41. Let's go.
Okay, 41 seconds. First game here, David versus GoSuSTX from
Yeah,
IsGoSu. Antigua Shipyard, and this is not an MLG version, which means they may not be cross positions, but let's find out. I am in game. We're
Good.
at 41 seconds. Our signature patented time. No one else is allowed to start a replay there. David, are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, play.
See, that's what we should do. If we can't make money off of the VODs, we'll make money off of patenting 41 seconds every single time someone queues up to that point.
It's like when Donald Trump tried to patent the phrase "you're fired," even though I think we're a little bit bigger than Donald Trump, but still.
What is that guy famous for? Hair? Come on. He's nothing. Nothing. Alright, anyways, so 9 Overlord, I believe I did.
Obviously.
So going up to 12 food here, 50 food is going to be another drone. I'm going to wait till 14, then drone scout, just to find out where he is. This is an MLG, so he could be in the 2 crappiest locations ever. The one to the left and the one to the bottom. The one to the left is probably the worst one because it's very difficult to take that third to the left side. The one at the bottom is also pretty difficult against Terran because that entire ledge, they can use it like right below my main base. They can use it to protect their third by placing tanks in locations where you literally cannot move out. Or they can attack me and plant tanks at the bottom while elevatoring on the top with medevacs. It's very, very close to reinforced, so coming with reinforcements of like 5-6 Marines at a time is extremely hard to stop. So my strategy is probably dependent on these positions, usually, especially when he shows me what he's about to do. So we'll go over that and just see what he's going to do first. So I did a 14 hatch. I'm probably going to do a 14 pool here. Yeah, 14 pool. Then I'm probably going to go up to about 17 supply and then build an Overlord.
So
If I scouted in
14
here,
pool or 15 pool?
I did a 14 pool just because I'm unsure if he was on the cross spawn or not.
And you don't know where his barracks is.
Yeah, so I scouted a gas. I know that he built the barracks somewhere. It doesn't really matter how close the barracks is. The most important part here is to scout the gas, so I know it cannot be 2x pressure. So regardless of what he wants to send at me, I'm really in a pretty comfortable position right now to just macro up. So I'm gonna wait for my spawning pool to go up, start droning as heavily as I can, and build my 2 queens. I just gotta be careful if he's sending SCVs up to my base to build a random bunker. I just have to make sure I have drones there in order to cancel them. So my hatch finishes, I'm gonna transfer over a few drones. Now I finally see the Marine. It's in a bit of a weird location, so I know he built his barracks quite forward, but that's fine. 1 Marine is definitely not a threat. It doesn't really require Zerglings, but I'm just gonna build 2 here, more of a scout rather than to deal with the threat of Marines, because even if you build 3 Marines, I can actually fend it off with the 1 Queen, so it's actually not too bad. So these 2 Zerglings are going to try to move into locations where I could possibly get a second scout even when the Hellions are out. Sneaking in a Zergling, even when Hellions are in the middle of the map, is pretty good, because Hellions give him map control, but if I'm still able to scout him, it kind of defeats the purpose of his map control. So I'm going to build my spawning crawler. Yeah, that's why I sneak it down to the left side there. So this one is just going to make sure that he's actually going Hellions. Going to go up here. I don't see anything, no bunkers, so the expansion isn't that greedy. It's not at the bottom already. I'm just going to go up here, and this is pretty smart by him. He's hiding everything from me, and I don't see anything, so I do have to assume that the possibility of Banshees is can be a threat here, but it's going to be fine because I'm going up to 4 Queens. So I just have to pop down that evolution chamber, and I should be okay to deal with Banshees if they do decide to come. So at this point, I'm just going to spread my creep as best as I can. waiting for the first sight of Hellions, so I know that at least I can be sure that he is going Hellions somewhat. But at this point, I'm pretty blind, but there is nothing that can actually kill this amount of queens and spine crawlers at this point anyways. So I'm dropping a second spine here because I'm kind of unsure as to why he's hiding whatever he's making. Usually if you reactor factory Hellions at this point, you send the first two to kind of clear up map control, because I don't have speed at this point because he scouted I opened no gas. So in order for him to wait, basically tells me he's trying to hide something. He wants me to be blind for something. So this extra spine crawler is a little bit of a precaution just in case. And of course I know that the threat of banshees can come, but I'm going to delay as much as possible because I don't want to counter everything. It doesn't have to be banshees, and if it is banshees, then I'll deal with it minimally if it does come. So at this point, I'm just, yeah, see, I put my evolution chamber down now, so nice and late. At this point, I feel pretty safe. I'm gonna keep my queens at the front here, just in case he's doing a normal Hellion build, but he's just waiting to build up like 8 or 10 to just run in. It does happen from time to time. It's a little bit of a cheesy, weird play, but just in case that happens, I don't want to be caught off guard. So I made these precautionary lings without speed, basically just to kind of block the Hellion's path. So if they do decide to run in, they get hit by the 2 spine crawlers a few times before they can actually do damage at this point.
What's the earliest a cloak banshee could come?
A cloak banshee, the earliest, I think if you do a really crazy build. So if you open gas first, which he did in this game. But if you open gas first and then rush cloak and stop at like 1 marine, I think you can get it into my base, especially in these locations, before the 8-minute mark. So
yeah, I think you can do it at like 6.
Yeah, but the good part about that
into
is
your base by 7 minutes.
Yeah, 4 queens on the field means I can panic build the spine crawlers when the banshee is in my base, and at most he's gonna get 4 or 5 drone kills, and then after that I'm fine. And if he targets the queens, even better for me, because then I don't lose any drones. Spine crawlers are quite quick. So now I know that he went Hellions, because I saw the Hellions. So, because I built this spine crawler to counter banshees, I'm going to use it to counter something else that can come out. Because it's basically useless now that he didn't go banshees. So I'm moving it closer to the side of the ledge there, where drops are most likely to happen, so that if he decides to do some kind of a drop play, at least I might be able to get some hits off the medevac. So I'm just trying to turn a misread into something. So this is really good for me, actually. I was able to scout that he had blue flame there. So I know exactly what he's doing. I know he's expanding behind this. Okay, so now I'm just going to tell you my little thought process.
I'm going to pause at 9:30.
Okay. Actually, let's pause at 9:30 for a sec, because I have to explain something before my strategy comes in.
I'm paused at 9:30.
Okay, so basically, this is how I usually look at builds like this. So he's doing marine Hellions, which is purely blue flame marine Hellions and marines, purely a mineral deposit. Both of the 2 units do not cast any gas. Sorry, do not cost any gas. But he also has the tech lab because he researched blue flame, which means that he's probably going to take that tech lab to switch it over onto the racks to make the next gas deposit of 100 into stim. So the bulk of his army is basically no gas, and all minerals, and all the gas deposit went into the 2 upgrades, which is going to be stim and blue flame. So at this point, I know that he can't really push me to kill me at this point, because him having blue flame at this point means he can't have stim, unless he built two tech labs and researched stim and blue flame at the same time, which would mean that his marine count wouldn't have been that high, because you would have to have a tech lab on one of your racks, and therefore that racks can only build 1 marine at a time. So this tells me, because his marine count was quite high, that he swapped them. Like, the reactor was probably on the racks. So the good part about that is, because that was a reactor and not a double tech lab, I know that 2 things are going to be quite late at this point, because it's already 9:30. I know that one is tanks are going to be super late, because it would be impractical to make 2 tech labs on a racks and on a factory and then switch into tanks again. And his timing on the starport will also be late, because that's also a gas deposit. And in order to afford the starport, you actually need 4 gases, even though you have no other gas deposit, because the starport is so expensive and medevacs are so expensive. So this isn't really a mech play. This is to transition into obviously probably tanks and like a regular composition with medevacs and marines. But because his composition is so tech light, the Terran always has to do this style with something else being done at the same time. And this is why I choose to do what I'm about to do here. This is why I dropped the Roach Warren. It's because it wouldn't make sense for a Terran to sit on 2 base, just the same as you would be sitting on 2 base if he was going into tanks and marines as fast as he could to do a stim timing push with siege mode, because that's very tech heavy. That actually doesn't allow you to afford a third command center until you push out, maybe at the 10 or 11 minute mark, a normal third timing. But because his unit composition is so cheap, and he doesn't even have medevacs out yet, he's cutting that also at this time, and it's already so late, that his push right now is going to be weak, but it means he's doing something behind it. So the obvious one is he's spending 300 minerals, 400 into building a command center, which is an early third. And the reason why it's really bad to do in this location with this strat is because if the Zerg player recognizes it, it is absolutely impossible to hold this third, because we're in the locations where the Terran's third is shittier for him than it is for me. Like I mentioned before, you see how his natural third is closer to my base. So the only reason that would make this third dangerous for me is if he can defend it with something that takes advantage of positioning, which would basically be tanks, because it's so close to my main base. So if you sit 2 tanks like right on top of that his third base ledge, he'll hit me like 4 times before I even engage his army. But he's skipping that. He's doing a very I think he's doing a very poor strategy choice for these locations. So to take advantage of that, I'm gonna do a 2-base strategy timing in which I sit on extremely powerful units against the composition that he has, and then when he counters my composition by building, for example, medevacs or tanks, I'll be able to overrun him and stop the third because his tanks and his medevacs were so late. So if I did this push and the tank timings was normal, so he'd probably have almost 2 tanks by now, and by the time I do the push, he'd maybe have like 5 or 6 tanks. There's absolutely no way this would work. But his tank count is going to be reduced by like 80% because of the tech path that he chose. So this is more of a good thing to do on like Tal'Darim, very big maps where the Zerg player is forced to go into a macro game and you can take a third like this, but I don't think it's viable in positions like this. So that's my thought process here, which is why I instantly put down the Roach Warren. And you're going to see I'm not even going to try to expand here. I'm just going to sit back, create this big army, and basically my game plan here is if I'm wrong and he didn't take the third base, I'll do some very weird 2-base infester to Broodlord tech and take my third really late. And if I'm right, then I either kill him and win the game, or he barely defends it, has to lift off his third, and then I take my third and go into Broodlord tech or whatever. So, okay, we can start whenever.
No, let's watch. 3, 2, 1, play.
So, hope that was interesting.
So that's why you're planning on doing what you're doing, and he's going to be furious when he can't take his third. Fresh creep tumors. This is the stuff nightmares are made of.
So as you can see, he's showing me he has absolutely no tech with this besides the 2 mineral deposit units. So this threat is completely non-existent. And it tells me clearly that he's trying to invest into something.
Is that why he's going home, right? He's making the right decision backing off here, right?
Yeah, definitely making the right decision. But the problem with this is he's basically telling me his strategy. So I kind of understand the builds a little bit, so the Terran build, so I think that this is probably the right choice to do when I can recognize that he's doing something like this. So he should know that he shouldn't be here. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to get sandwiched.
So I'm just pulling up resources here. Gonna make this huge roach timing, wait for speed, and then kind of push out.
Wow.
Yeah, so at this point I just want to basically build as many roaches as I can. The good part about the roach timing here is, like I said, they are counted by tanks, but his low tank count, because he delayed it so much, is going to make this force so powerful because it's just basically going to overrun him. And that's exactly what I'm looking to do. Yeah, so at this point it's pretty boring. You already have a strategy in mind, you just have to macro up. Try to make sure you don't miss injects.
Are you waiting for a specific timing here? Is it roach speed or is it...
Yeah, I'm waiting for roach speed basically to finish, and Baneling speed. So
Baneling speed, roach speed. Okay, so you got a little bit of time, and in that time you're just going to use it to macro and build as much.
Yeah, it's very easy to do at this point because it is a 2-base play thing, and I was already fully saturated going into layer tech. So right now I can pump all my larvae into going into units. So I'm just basically trying to separate my army so that if he does scan me, he doesn't see everything. And this is a very interesting decision by him. I actually see him on the map, so this is really bad, which is probably why this game really doesn't go the way he's expected. He's actually pushing into me here, and like we've explained before, I'm doing a strategy to punish him to take a third, to create a ground force that he can't actually beat with his army value. So him pushing out here really doesn't make any sense at all, because he's basically pushing into an all-in army that is way stronger than his, when he should be defending, even though my army would still be stronger than his. So he's going to get cleaned up pretty easily here. There's really not much he can do at this point. And after seeing this, I mean, it's almost a guarantee that this push is going to work now. Not that it would have changed my mind at all, because I've already decided to do this, but
You probably would. It would have been less cost effective, but you still would have.
this allows me to be 100% sure that it is impossible for him to hold this now. And as you're going to see, basically what happens is he just gets overrun because there's too many units, and the third is in such, like, the third he was trying to take is in such a weird location to take it that I can just run into his base here and just clean him out.
Zerging like a Zerg.
Yeah. So as you can see, army value-wise, like, you have to understand the mechanics of it. That's why you can't do strategies like this. I have 4,300 army supply, and he barely has 2,000. It's practically double. At a point like this, when he's trying to take a base ahead of mine, like, you're doing too many things at once. To do low-tech strategies like this, you have to have distance. It's not just a matter of playing well. Maps have so much to do with it. You know, it's like trying to go. It's like trying to go 6-kill somebody who's cross-spawn on, like, the biggest map in the game, like Terminus 3. It just won't work. Not because the strategy is bad, but just because the map just won't allow for it. Taking that third there is never ever going to be acceptable. It's never going to be able to be held. And then him pushing out doesn't make sense either. So.
All right. So
okay.
that's episode 10, game 1.
That's game 1.